Today's episode is brought to you by the Vegas Beer Guys. The Everything Sequel podcast contains explicit language. 'Cause we learned it from you, Dad. Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel podcast. This is a pitch episode. My name is Michael Shantz of the How Dare You Awards. Joining me, you know him. He's got something funky coming down the pipe. Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. What do you got for him, Tom?
Kalimar. When Harrison Ford says it, it sounds like a beach town. Sounds like a place I'd want to visit. You know, Kalimar is nice this kind of time of year.
Yeah. It's fewer bugs right now.
And you know they're over that ripping the heart out and it going on fire thing. You know,
That was the old model.
They
don't pitch that on their vacation packages anymore.
I mean, if you want to see it, they'll put it on for you.
Sure.
They'll do a performance of it. But, you know, if you'd rather not see hearts ripped out of people's bodies and going on fire, you know, they're not going to rub it in your face.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we are. We've finished the Indiana Jones series.
Yeah.
We have put our work in, friend. What did we...
We really have.
Did we create about 45 hours of listening pleasure for this series?
Yeah, don't get used to that length of episode, okay? So most of the shitty sequels we watch, they're not going to warrant a 3-hour discussion.
Yeah.
So don't get too used to it.
Good times.
This is for Lucasfilm Productions only, apparently. We can't stop talking about it.
We can't shut up.
Yeah.
It's not our fault.
No, I really don't think it is our fault. I think it's they're just such huge series culturally.
Yeah.
And they've got so much going on within them.
Mm-hmm.
For better or worse.
The question is, will our pitches have so much going on in them?
They will, and for better and worse.
But
and
before we get there, we got plenty of business to take care of.
We do, yeah. And just, you know, an overall thought about the series, reflecting on it. It's a series where every one of these movies has, I would say, significant problems.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, the degree to which that matters changes film by film.
And person to person.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's hard to...
Friend of the show, Heather Pedersen,
that's right,
had sent a message saying we were so wrong about Last Crusade, I believe.
It's interesting because, you know, when Dial of Destiny came out, I knew it's impossible to get consensus around a new film.
Mm-hmm.
Like a new franchise film. Just impossible. Society doesn't work that way anymore.
Sure, right.
It's inherently, the response is inherently divided. It's predestined that way. But it is interesting that earlier Indiana Jones movie, from an era where we had more consensus about what made a good and a bad movie, there's still divergent viewpoints and fandom is still split.
Yeah, right. Well, we're saying it's split, but I think you and I are the outliers. I think the general consensus is Temple of Doom weaker, Last Crusade stronger, and we just happen to disagree.
I think that is changing, but it's maybe not as changing as fast as I'm giving it credit for.
All right. Well, what do you want to do first? So we got...
So you advertise this as a pitch episode, but this is going to be more like an annual general meeting. Because this is our final new episode of the year. That doesn't mean it's our last episode of the year. We've got something fun in store for you for our final 2 weeks. So
true.
we don't worry, we're gonna take care of you. You're not gonna miss out. But yeah, we've got a packed agenda today.
Yeah,
because we've got to re-rank the series after our rewatch of Dial of Destiny, and we've got some listeners' comments to go through. We've got to rank the posters,
and then pitch,
and then we've also got we're going to have some end of year announcements about how we're going to move forward in the new year.
Very good then.
Yeah, so I don't know, whatever you want to start with, whatever you think. I'll leave it up to you, Mr. Chairman.
Should we re-rank first?
Yeah, that makes most sense, right? The people are dying to know.
Are they?
Whether let's face it, you've changed your mind. I don't think anyone is on the edge of their seat about how my opinions might have changed.
True.
But I do think there is potential for some movement in your camp. So tell me tell me how it's been going since your rewatch of Dial of Destiny in terms of ranking and declaration. Maybe, I don't know.
No, the declarations stay the same.
Yeah.
Good, bad, bad.
Good, bad, bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't suspect there'd be any movement on that.
And
unless you'd watched it for a third time and loved it, which is perfectly possible.
Maybe. Right. And the top of the list, of course, for me stays the same. I got Temple of Doom at the top, followed by The Last Crusade. Mm-hmm. You know, in watching Dial of Destiny and then talking it over with you, No. I
don't like this implication that had you not had a conversation with me.
No, but it's important.
Yeah, but I don't want to be the reason that you dislike a movie more than you actually do.
No, you're not the reason.
Okay, good.
But we always have a back and forth. It's funny because I talked about...
You insulted me a little bit.
A little bit. Just a little bit there.
One dog goes one way, one dog goes the other.
I gravitated towards some things on my first watch of Dial of Destiny.
Yeah.
I dialed back a little bit on those things that I liked, I think, when we talked about it in the episode.
Yeah. Your appreciation went back in time.
Yeah, a little bit. There were things that didn't hit me as strong.
Yeah.
The movie is a weak movie.
Yeah.
So you, sir, were still not able to convince me.
Okay.
To put it ahead of Crystal Skull. Man, these are two not good movies. But
yeah, rewatching Dial of Destiny made me realize that they're two sides of a bad movie coin.
Mm-hmm.
They're very different from each other, but they make all the same mistakes.
Yeah, they really are. Like, I guess I had to... Crystal Skull is this very weird anomaly to me. Because you have...
Yeah.
People that I like in this movie. Sure. And when I started thinking about, say, a Karen Allen and her performance, and I realized... It's not her fault that they didn't give her anything to do. But also, what she's doing doesn't remind me of Marion at all. Is that the script's fault? I don't know, but there are, Mac, this character that seems kind of tailor-made for an Indiana Jones movie.
Well, that's the problem. I think maybe that was the focus is, it's just like, let's make an Indiana Jones character by committee, rather than like starting with the character. Let's think what makes a good Indiana Jones character, and then think back from that.
Right.
Because that, if you think about, how much we enjoyed Wuhan and Kazim, and if you think about it, those characters don't really make sense.
Right.
One of them dies. One of them dies instantly. The other one is in, less than 2 minutes of the movie.
2 minutes of the movie. But, you
Yeah.
know, it's like, what is it about a movie that... What is it about Temple of Doom that can bring a character like that in and make you care about him in 90 seconds and have him be gone is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And
it's
then you...
not. Yeah.
know,
It's just. It's the. I think it's the difference between writing a character and writing a trope of a character.
Yeah, it might be that simple. But you take, the same point as Karen Allen with Ray Winston. That's an actor I like.
Yeah.
And I don't like his performance. And so
Yeah.
when I look at Dial of Destiny, I see performance as one that I like more overall. I think the performances are better. I'm not going to say it's a better directed movie, but
No.
I'll forgive
Or even
it.
a directed movie.
Yeah, I'll forgive it for that. The thing about Crystal Skull is it's directed by Steven Spielberg and George Lucas is involved. These guys should know better. And
Yeah,
they
he's
fucked
Tom
it up.
Skerritt it up there, isn't he? with
Yeah,
his
so
involvement?
I carry more umbrage against that
That's
movie.
interesting.
Because
That's interesting.
they shouldn't have fucked it up.
You're punishing their failures
Yeah.
rather than because they should know better.
And we talked about
And James Mangold. This again. I've said this about J.J. Abrams before. He's such a hack. You almost can't blame him because he's just gonna steal from the lowest hanging fruit of the people before him. And that's what. So can you blame him for doing that? It's the people who originally made those mistakes in the Star Wars trilogy that are really to blame.
Mm.
And I think
if you say so.
There's something similar going on with James Mangold, where I think his heart's in the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
it's
his
not on
heart's in the
fire
right place.
outside his body.
But we talked about this because he directed Logan and he directed Wolverine.
Yeah.
And these are two very different movies. What's the biggest difference? A really good script and a really bad script. So, maybe he's one of those people that can do more, given more.
Yeah.
But he's not creative enough to pull a rabbit out of his hat when he needs to.
No.
And Spielberg probably is. I mean, there's no reason that Temple of Doom should work as well as it does. Considering everything that's going on in it. Racism. There's a lot of shit in Temple of Doom. And yet, as a sequel, that movie fucking works.
But then Spielberg would turn around to you and say, well, this is what worked in the 30s. Why wouldn't it work now? People are always going to want this kind of movie.
I don't know.
But people are always going to want. It's just a big populist movie. People are always going to have an appetite for. Whereas Dial of Destiny, as I said before, I don't know who that movie is for.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see where its demographic is, and if you try and apply any,
you don't think that they're trying to make a populist movie though? It's what they're going for. They're just failing at it, I think.
But that implies that there'd be some buy-in for people younger than.
Yeah, that's true.
In their mid-40s, which
I think the default is in their minds is like, well, who doesn't like an action movie? And we'll have action. Just be an 80-year-old man.
who doesn't like action in the form of a movie?
Yeah.
This movie is your container of action.
Well, and we've talked about this before.
Just watch the action within it. Don't worry about how one scene goes into another.
Yeah, none of that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this before about how movies are getting made today. And I think that's one of Dial of Destiny's biggest problems is it just feels kind of homogenized in a way. It's just kind of watered down.
Yeah, I think this was
least common denominator into trying to please everybody.
I think we're gonna look back and
maybe anyone.
I don't think so. And I think we're going to look back at it and go, wow, that movie was made at the worst possible moment in history. It could have been.
Maybe.
I really do. I really think we're, the same year that Shazam and The Flash came out, and sort of like, that's where franchise movies are. So, it's, and you're not even really living up to the success of those.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. But yeah, I didn't think you were gonna flop, but I'm glad.
Really?
I'm glad you. Well, you never do. You won't.
I
You won't commit to flip flopping.
I really thought I was going
Ironically.
to flip maybe a day after.
Yeah.
Like talking about Dial of Destiny with you, because I realized as I was talking about it, I realized, man, there really are a lot of glaring failures in this movie. But at the end of the day, I still just think it's a better watch.
I think that's where we'll never agree. I find Crystal Skull eminently more entertaining in its first half.
In its first half.
I mean, the second half is terrible, but there's a lunacy that carries me through. There's a lunacy that's interesting to observe, and there's nothing interesting to observe in Dial of Destiny. It all falls flat for me.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Doesn't all fall flat.
I think the problem was I gave you too much time. I should have pinned you down.
Decide now,
because you were so bummed out talking about Dial of Destiny. I think if I'd have got you then, got that commitment out of you then the rest would have been buyer's remorse.
Right.
Well, I waited too long.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And
you come from the anti Lucasfilm prequel era school, so if we can dig into that wall that you have about those movies, and this year basically we've spent doing that with the Star Wars prequels and and Crystal Skull. We've hammered down some of those walls. It's definitely a smaller wall, and the cracks are starting to show, I think.
Sure.
And your appreciation for those films. So that's the most I can hope for.
Well, let's not go too far.
As a defender of those movies, that's the most I can hope for. I've more than done my job if I've made you think about think about whether or not you enjoy parts of Crystal Skull.
Right.
That's a win for me.
Yeah, I mean, you took me further down that path than I ever thought I could go.
Yeah.
You lucked out that the CGI at the beginning doesn't look as bad on a small screen. I think.
As I said, that's what I thought about Dial of Destiny. So we're in agreement about the second half of the series.
Did Dial of Destiny get worse?
We just disagree on the examples.
Yeah. Did Dial of Destiny get worse or better for you on a second viewing? Or stay the same?
It's a good question. I'd like to say...
Thank you.
I'd like to say it got better.
All right.
I found it far more monotonous because... I suppose because I knew where it was going.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that any joy I had would be so short-lived it was barely worth the... It was barely worth the
attention.
Energy. Yeah.
Maybe I could play tic-tac-toe on my phone while I watch this.
I think I said it in the last episode. The other time travel problem of the movie is that you're playing the movie, but time doesn't seem to be moving forward. And I didn't experience that in the movie theater, but when I was watching it at home with the ability to leave at any point and do something else, my inclination was always just to leave it because I was like, this movie does not seem to be progressing in any meaningful way from when I last looked at it.
Oh,
So
that's good.
so no, but I was far more entertained by it the first time, I would say.
Okay, that's interesting.
Second time round, the boredom just kind of kicked in and wouldn't leave me.
But you said it went up for you a little bit.
No, I didn't. I said I'd like to say that.
Oh, is that what you said?
Yeah, I just don't want people thinking that I'm closed-minded.
Even though you are?
Even though
Is
I
that
am.
what you're copping to?
I'm close. I guess so. No, I just thought. I think it's a red flag of a film that just isn't working. That you can't see something different in it the second time round than you saw the first time, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I saw nothing different, nothing that made me reconsider it.
Isn't that interesting about good movies? You could watch a movie you watched 40 years ago and find something new.
I think that, I mean, I was just thinking that about, you know, the movies that are in my all-time top 10. I don't watch that often. But if I ever go back to them, not only are my feelings reconfirmed, but I find a whole new subtext that I'd never even noticed before. Yeah. And that's the beauty of a great movie, is it's going to keep coming at you in different ways, decade after decade. Great TV series as well are the same. Like, I'm rewatching Frasier at the moment, now that I'm the age Frasier is at the beginning of the series.
At the beginning of the show.
And it completely changes the show for me. Like, and I've seen the show way too many times to be rewatching it, but it really does feel like I need to rewatch it as a man who's now over 40.
I just finished rewatching it, so I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm the opposite. I guess I'm the age that he is at the end of the show.
I was, given my previous record on this subject, I was holding back from making that comparison.
With all due respect.
With all due respect,
you're not the age Frasier was when it started.
You're Frasier in the diaper with the surrogate Emma Thompson.
There you go. All right, well, I'll leave it to you. Where do you want to go next?
Let's have some listeners' comments.
Let's go.
Yeah. So the first one I have is when we posted our Indiana Jones and Last Crusade Photoshop on Instagram, and Dana Gould, yes, that Dana Gould of the Dana Gould Hour, hanging with Dr. Z and The Simpsons, to name but a few of his credits.
Big fan.
Well, yeah, I mean, he'd reached out to us privately before to say how much he'd enjoyed our episodes on Star Wars, and so because he did that privately, I was like, we're not going to talk about it on the show, but you know, I'm a huge fan of his work going back years.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to, but now he's done it in public. He said,
feel safe.
Yeah, so entertaining and miraculously longer than my podcast. So, you know, we're
two appreciative, long-winded people.
That is correct. Yes. So, thank you, Dana, and
listen to you unleashing your inner Ed McMahon. That is correct, sir.
Oh, well, at least it's not my inner Hank Kingsley.
Hank Kingsley. I was just thinking the same thing.
Or inner Jeffrey Tambor. So I've said before on this podcast when we were doing this series that I listened to a show called Indiana Jones Minute, where they go through the Indiana Jones films a minute at a time, using the Star Wars Minute model, and I belong to their Facebook group, Indiana Jones and the Listeners Crusade. And, you know, when we were posting, doing our social media, I was kind of hesitant to post on the feed because it felt a bit like carpetbagging, you know, that this is well-worn territory for them. You've got these dudes coming down
Coming in like a big log roller.
Yeah. So and I felt self-conscious anyway because I'm sure I've absorbed a lot of their observations by osmosis. I tried to credit them where I remember, but I'm sure I'm regurgitating it. You haven't listened to it, which is great because
Look at you copying to possibly stealing, not unlike one J.J. Abrams, in your opinion.
That's great, yeah, but I turn it into meaningful content when I do it. But I was actually about to compliment you because I tried to stay away from observations I knew had been made on Indiana Jones Minute and let you make them, and you repeatedly you did, right down to Short Round and the Elephants. So,
nice.
And how sad and tragic that was. So, but anyway, I didn't put it up there for all of those reasons. But Tim Gower, who is also a member of the Crusade, and according to his posts, has listened to our Indiana Jones and Star Wars episodes at the very least. And he said quite a lot of fun, an extensive review.
Oh, yeah, for sure, extensive.
And our episodes on Lucasfilm Productions have been fun. And then he justifiably, I imagine in your and many people's eyes, took me to task for saying that, I'll read what he says. I really disagree Steven Spielberg is overrated outside of the genre, but your podcasts on Indiana Jones and the Star Wars films have been fun. And I responded and say, yep, I'm in the minority there, and my co-host vehemently disagrees. And he responded by saying, from that early movie with the truck to Schindler's List, Lincoln and the Bridge of Spies and so on, I can't get on board. I don't want to resort to the social media slapdown bait and say you're wrong, but you are. It was at that point I looked into his Facebook history to see if it was really just you masquerading as someone else, because that sounds like it could have come straight out of your mouth. And yeah, I mean, I don't really have more to add to this. Like I say, I recognize I'm in a minority. For the record, everything Spielberg made in the 70s, and I would say in the early 80s, I think is top notch.
Top notch.
After that, I kind of lose interest and haven't.
Come on, always. That's late 80s.
Yeah, 89. I find the rest of it a little bit anemic, and didn't get much out of Lincoln. I really dislike Schindler's List. I think it's a really exploitative movie. Bridge of Spies I haven't seen, so maybe I should.
I like Bridge of Spies.
Open my mind to that.
Friend of the show, David Wilson Barnes, has a big role in Bridge of Spies.
Acting?
Yeah, he and I acted together in high school and community college.
Oh, wonderful. That's great.
He is a fantastic working actor.
Yeah, and he got to work with Mark Rylance, which must be
yeah.
Who I've seen on
in an Academy Award-winning role.
To bring it all back to Frasier, I saw him on stage in the Idiot with David Hyde Pierce.
Oh,
on the West End stage.
Lovely.
So yeah.
Have a seat, Sylvester Stallone. It's Mark Rylance's night.
Yeah. That was. It's sort of that was strange because it wasn't like they. I haven't seen the movie, but I assume Mark Rylance is not playing someone disabled or.
He is not. No.
Okay, yeah. So,
but I didn't.
It's not like it would have sucked if Stallone lost it because someone decided they wanted to play someone in a wheelchair that year to get an Oscar.
No, it's nothing like that.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't really know him that well as an actor, but when he appears on screen in Bridge of Spies, one of my first thoughts was, "Who the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
He's that good.
He's got a real presence about him, and
yeah.
I actually haven't seen any of his screen work, so I'd be interested to see if that translates at all. But on stage, it's very striking.
All right, is that it for?
That's it. Yeah, the listeners' you mentioned Heather's.
Yeah.
I would say comment, more of a sort of challenge.
Yes. I'll see
But
her.
she reflects the.
I'll see
but
her
she-
around Christmas time on the 23rd, and we'll go to task.
But keep them coming. You know, you send us a comment. You know, whether it's nice or critical or both, like Tim's was. We'll read it out on the show.
Oh yeah.
And you know, Heather's one of our patrons, so
She
she's
can say
earned,
whatever she wants.
she's quite literally earned her opinion. And what's more, we both know she reflects the consensus around Last Crusade that we don't hold to.
Yeah.
So it's a keen reminder that's going on outside of this podcast.
All right, now we obviously have to pitch, but we need to rank some posters and talk
Yes.
about the new year.
Yeah,
But one kind of folds into the other, right?
it does. Yeah, so let's handle. Let's do it quiz show style. I'll take the second part first. Yeah, let's talk. So yeah, this is only the second time that we've ranked the posters, but let's do that, and we do it from the bottom up, which was your idea that I really enjoyed.
We do indeed. We do indeed.
So you can take the lead on this one.
So, well, let me ask you
Uh-huh.
before we get started.
What do you value in a poster?
What's... Well, we briefly talked about this off mic.
Yeah.
I guess obviously we'll talk about the main posters, but there's a couple of Indiana Jones movies that had more than one poster
Yeah.
as a main poster, like one you would see at the movie theater. Posters are kind of, they can really change over the decades,
Oh, for sure, yeah. Well, you only have to look at these posters to
Yeah.
see that.
That's true.
My God.
But I guess my question to you is, do you want to consider any of these extra posters?
No.
Okay.
No, let's go with the ones that we inserted our faces into. If it's good enough to slap our faces on, then it's good enough to rank.
All right. All right.
And I like that they're all variations basically on the same poster, and yet
Yeah.
wildly different in both quality and style.
Absolutely. Do you want me to list my worst first?
Worst first.
Because to me, like, this is still a battle of two halves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, actually, no. I think one of these posters is out in front by some distance. Actually,
Okay.
all things considered. But go ahead.
I understand what you're saying. I don't know that it's ahead by a country mile for me, but really the most difficult decision I have is with the bottom half of my list. Now this is difficult too, because the one thing about this particular segment is it's auditory. So
Yeah, it's auditory. Yeah.
they're not seeing you. Dear listeners, you have to look up the posters to know what we're talking about.
You do. Yeah.
That's
That's okay.
I gotta tell you, the
I
one
think
that
there's a clear winner and a clear loser here.
really.
Yeah. So I'm happy to go. I'm happy to tell you who lost.
Okay, go ahead.
It's Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It's one of the worst posters I've ever seen in any medium.
All right, then I think we're on the same page.
It looks like a photograph. It looks like they all posed for a photograph and
Yeah.
then put it on a poster. Really, I mean, genuinely, there's so little art. There's so little art in it. It has to go straight to the bottom.
Here's the thing about Indiana Jones movie posters too. You've got two posters that have your main character that we all love so much looking directly down the barrel of the camera, and two posters where he is not. generally speaking, I
But
like
is he
it better when he's
not
not staring down the barrel of the camera.
I know. In one of them, his look down the camera's pretty dreamy.
It is.
He is undressing me with his eyes.
Very much so. It helps that you have the younger version there.
And then there's another one in which one of the ones in which he's not looking down the barrel of the camera, he just looks constipated.
That has to be Dial of Destiny.
No.
Oh, really?
No, he's not going to be constipated in Dial of Destiny. He's got all that Metamucil to help him. Or whatever the 1969 equivalent of Metamucil was. Is probably just sticking a pole up there. I don't know.
It wasn't until I was just flipping through the posters in which I actually saw the look on his face for Temple of Doom, and you're right.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
He looks constipated.
I mean, what I'd say as a general comment is really, I mean, because I had the VHS, I basically had a mini version of this poster to look at every day of my childhood.
Yeah.
If I wanted to look at it, I could. And it really genuinely looks like, in an artistic sense, that the flames are as close as they look in the poster because of the way his face is reacting to the flames.
Yeah.
He's like seconds away from the hat going on fire, is
Yeah.
what it looks like. Which wouldn't have been a bad idea, and then we wouldn't have had to have it in the next few movies.
Well, I, like you, am going to go Kingdom of Crystal Skull at the bottom of my list.
Also, Harrison Ford really doesn't look pleased to be there.
He looks very disinterested.
And I assume this is a painting.
Right.
So, the idea that they couldn't cover up that sense of not wanting to be there in a painting suggests to me that the artist hasn't gone far enough with the artwork for this movie.
May I say, by the way, how good you look as a Russian spy woman.
Yeah, it reminded me of our very first watch along where I had the Princess Leia wig. It doesn't seem like it would work with my general hairiness and wide face, but it really does.
That was good. Yeah, you know what I also like in an Indiana Jones poster is counting how many times Indiana Jones can be seen on it.
Yeah. In this one, is that Indiana Jones? Maybe that's Fedora. I know he's not in the movie, but
he's not in this movie. What are you talking about?
Or his just his stunt double.
Yeah, it always feels, until you get to Dial of Destiny, it's a minimum of two sightings per poster.
Right. Yeah, to be honest, given the movie, it's lucky that he's even in the poster for Dial of Destiny, I'd say.
Well, for my next poster, I am going to go Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, me too. I think it's a yeoman's effort.
I agree. I don't hate this poster.
No, I like the poster more than I like the movie. I think they've at least thought about trying to get the 1930s feel into the poster more than the movie thought about that.
Right.
And it's a using your terminology, a reasonable facsimile of an
Indiana Jones poster. Yeah.
Well, like an old-fashioned movie poster.
Yeah. I think that Smokey Mads Mikkelsen is a clincher for me too. That's working.
But it also feels like the ersatz version of that, because it's 2023 and we don't really know how to reproduce that look, but we can get some of the we can have the
it's funny because
the hyperreal version of it, but we can't get that.
Because when you look at the other posters really kind of insist on using all of the poster.
Yeah.
Dial of Destiny gets about 3/4 of the way down, and they're like, "Well, we give up."
I tell you what it looks like. It looks like a movie lobby postcard, which is to its credit. It's interesting. Maybe I've underestimated Dial of Destiny. No, I'm gonna stick where it is because I think it's a bit affected.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has the opposite problem with the Crystal Skull. They put no effort into the Crystal Skull one. They put too much effort into this.
Right.
But again, the films I think are sort of the opposite. Like Dial of Destiny puts no effort in, and Crystal Skull tries too much too quickly.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, what's your next one?
I think I have my issues with it, but I'd say Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Hmm.
Give me 1989 Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
In any pictorial representation of that is gonna, set my heart aflutter. But that's really all it is. I mean, it's I don't like it does. I don't understand this Foursquare with the different.
I don't hate that. I mean, I get what you're saying, but
like,
to me, they're almost picture framed, and so I kind of like. To me, it kind of gives it a serial nature. So I don't totally hate the.
But why these characters? I mean, did they know what the movie was going to be like when they made this poster?
So
why Vogel and not Donovan?
And you want Donovan? I was going to say, yeah.
Well, I don't necessarily want Donovan. I don't want any of this. But I if you're going to put anyone there, it shouldn't be Vogel.
Mm-hmm.
I'd even take Kazim.
Oh.
Or the Grail Knight. I like the I like the sort of Bonanza opening titles. Indy coming towards, burning through the poster. Yeah. I like that element of it, and I like Harrison Ford. I would have liked, although actually I don't know if this would have worked, but I would have liked him and his father to be undressing me with his eyes. Because
where's Henry Sr. looking?
Henry Sr. is looking at Harrison Ford going, why are you undressing that poor person who's looking at your poster with your eyes?
Oh, that's good.
But I guess that's their relationship in the movie. And I don't really
I kind of
like
that. Like you, I mean, you were just kind of mentioning
Look what you did. I can't believe what you did.
But I like the blaring out sun and the dust kind of billowing into their clothing. I like that.
And this was the basis of all young Indiana Jones artwork.
Mm.
I think this particular look. So everything from then until Crystal Skull in Indiana Jones looked just like this, as far as I can remember.
Well, I think for me, this one is closer to the top for you. But as it turns out, we're in lockstep.
Yeah.
Because I like this one. And then at the top of my... Like I said, I prefer an Indiana Jones not looking down the barrel of the camera. And so Temple of Doom...
I mean, it's a clear frontrunner, and for me, just a great poster asks questions. What the fuck is going on? Who are these people? What are they like? If you'd only seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, you're looking at this poster, and you're sort of going, what? Why is there fire?
Mm-hmm.
Who is this man holding up a heart?
What I like
is this Asian kid?
Who's the small kid?
Is that a teenage girl, or is that Indy's love interest?
Mola Ram actually has the flaming heart in his hand.
He does. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Talk about
there aren't just two Indiana Jones. There's three.
Yeah. Also, given sub narrative of what happened to Short Round after the movie, you can see Short Round is with his elephant.
Right, yes.
So it's
So that's the other thing is the other main characters. The other main characters get not one just one picture, but they get two as well.
So I think it's masterful. I love it. I think, and again, like it
I just love that poster, and I'll say this.
Yeah.
Well, you said you didn't want to talk about it, but the other main Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom poster, I think him standing in the in that archway with
it's the Moses shot, isn't it? From
yeah. I'll take that poster over all the other ones too. Both
Yeah,
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom posters.
I generally disagree with a poster being a still from the movie, but I'm not gonna again. Body by Jake. Not gonna argue.
All right. Well, there you have it.
Yeah, so we can at least agree on that.
Yeah. What more can we ask?
Yeah.
And then this leads us to where this little segment will go in the new year, yes?
Yeah. So Mike introduced this segment when we finished Friday the 13th. And I thought it was a great idea. And as we were doing, in real time as we were doing it, I thought, this would work better visually where people could actually see the posters we were talking about as we were talking about them.
That first time felt a lot like Strike Force 5 and their questions from their wives, if anybody ever listened to that.
Yes,
felt kind of like
I
that.
know exactly what you're... Yeah, you're talking
Only
about,
not as funny, because that's some of the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life.
But coincidentally, we were looking for something to do as YouTube exclusive content.
Yeah.
Because we've decided that we're phasing out. We have been phasing out the watch-alongs. We feel that we've done all we can do with that. It was a niche idea to start with, and we made it last 3 years.
Right.
So I don't think we owe anyone any content from that.
Yeah.
We came to the first one we did was Star Wars Holiday Special, and we've just passed the kind of 3-year mark of doing that. So we thought, well, this is a good time to end it, but I go by the mantra of the more things change, the more they stay the same. I don't want, when we change something up on the show, I don't want anyone to lose out. I want it to be a net gain. So we're gonna every time we finish a series, we're gonna do a YouTube exclusive
but you'll
video.
be able to see the posters.
You'll be able to see the posters, and you'll be able to see us, and you'll see us talking about the posters, and we'll be able to, actually point out specific aspects of the poster. So we're going to do that whenever we get to the end of the series. We're going to rank the posters on YouTube, and that'll take the place of our watch-alongs, because we want to keep some content out there on YouTube, because I'm aware that that's what how a lot of people get their podcasts.
That's how the kids do it, Tom.
So I'm told.
It's fire.
Yeah. It's what?
It's fire.
Is that what
things used to be the bomb, now they're fire.
Yeah. I've seen The Bear. I get it. Fire is what you say when you don't want to write decent dialogue. I get it. Do you think
they're just hooking into the now, Tom? Hooking into the now.
Do you think that's what the Temple of Doom poster is trying to say by having all that fire on? They're trying to let you know
this movie's fire.
They're telling people who are looking at it in 2023 that this movie is fire.
Yeah.
That's the best tagline for Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. That's how you open it up to younger viewers. This movie is fire. And then they'll watch it and they'll go, wow, I didn't realize they meant that literally.
I just want to point out one more thing about why the Temple of Doom poster is so good.
Go ahead.
To the right of his hat, the spikes.
Yes. Yeah, it's
so many details.
So many. Yeah, it's overstuffed like the movie.
Yeah.
And again, every good poster is a promise of what you're gonna get, and this poster, the movie delivers what the poster promises.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, not just because there's a heart on fire. Again, you can take that literally, or you can take it metaphorically.
I love. It'd be funny if the MPAA saw the poster first and they were they asked Steven Spielberg, "What's on fire?"
Yeah, why
in his
didn't they
hand?"
ask questions?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about
at
it.
that stage. This is just for the poster, right? You're not going to put this in the movie. No, of course not.
No, never. Of course not. He'll live. Don't worry.
I love the fact
until he
that
dies.
I can-
But he'll survive the heart being ripped out of his
Don't
chest.
worry, the white woman will be fine.
I'm sorry. He'll survive the what?
The funniest part of that is I can imagine Spielberg and Lucas, and Spielberg's trying to play it cool, and Lucas is just like, yeah, no, but we have a heart on fire in the... Shut up, George, shut up. We do have a heart on fire in the movie. I remember, I wrote it down specifically. He pulls that. So shut up, just we'll talk about it later.
And the Temple of Doom will really be more like a haunted castle. All right. Well, the last thing to do is pitch, I believe.
It is, yeah. That's what you came here for.
That's what you'll get.
This isn't Indiana Jones and the annual general meeting, but that's what you got.
All right, friends.
And ironically, that's the name of my pitch as well. Indiana Jones and the annual general meeting. Some would say it's not that much more exciting than that.
Oh, that's too good.
Well, there was a...
I had confessed to you right before we came on that this is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do is try to pitch a new Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
And then I really started getting some headway about 20 minutes before we started recording this fucking episode.
Hey, that's how Dial of Destiny was made.
Probably.
They were hitting their stride just as they started filming.
I had no fewer than, for a good week and a half, no fewer than about 15 tabs opened on shit to research and think about and mull over in preparation.
You approached it similarly to me, yeah.
And every day I would open up my computer and I'm like, I just want to X out of all of this, but I can't. I have to keep forcing myself to look at it.
And that you've gone through the process of writing Crystal Skull. Basically, any conspiracy theory on the internet about anything to do with history made it into the movie.
Oh, mercy.
Yeah.
So, how about you? How was your time?
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting that you kind of mentioned the research angle, because I think what we've done quite really effectively over our coverage of this series is kind of picked out the bones of a formula.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to apply that to what I was doing, and the kind of two big aspects that need to be in every Indiana Jones movie. And one of them is, I believe your term was the front end MacGuffin, and the back end MacGuffin, which I also like to think of as the appetizer MacGuffin and the entree MacGuffin.
Yeah, there you go.
So you need those.
You need a time period. You need a certain villain. You need woman.
Story. Kind of reworkings and rewritings of historical fiction and mythology.
Yeah, and you have to kind of globetrot.
Fashion into a plot. Well, I ignored the last part, but I did an Ian Fleming's Moonraker on that one, where I was just like, just have him stay where he is.
So no, it sounds like you took the beginnings of Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny, who don't get out of America for a fucking hour, each one of them, and then just said, I'll stay in America? Is that what you're doing?
No, but we don't we don't venture. Globetrotting isn't the point of the adventure in the way that it is with the other movies. I wanted to move away from that element because I feel like it's both tiresome and derivative. It's someone else's idea of an Indiana Jones movie. I think
it's the blueprint.
I don't know if it is the blueprint. Like I said, Temple of Doom all takes place on one continent, so it can be a very simple journey from one place to another.
All right.
I mean, you have to go international at some point, but Temple of Doom broke the mold on that one really nicely. It was like, okay, we're going to go from China to India, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, it's in terms of I found it. I had to change up my approach because there are so many interim adventures.
Mm-hmm.
In this series, like suggested adventures that take place between the movies. You feel like you want to pick up one of those threads and kind of run with it and unravel it. But when you start to do that, you realize it's just perfunctory kind of spackle storytelling. You're just trying to, stitch one era to another in the films, and I didn't find it very gratifying. And then the completionist in me took over, and I realized that what I really wanted to do was complete the second trilogy, make there 6 films instead of 5, so it doesn't feel uneven. And also, so, we've got the original trilogy plus these 2 later life films plus Young Indiana Jones. Then, I tell a story that takes place at every stage of Indiana Jones's life.
Interquel.
So, what do you mean?
Is that what you're doing? Are you going between?
No.
Are you going?
No. The opposite. I'm continuing on from Dial of Destiny.
Wow, impressive.
Yeah.
He did take that fucking hat back like a real asshole. So.
And then he ran for president and. And now he falls down the stairs of airplanes.
Your title is Indiana Jones and the Clear and Present Danger.
Yes. How dare you, sir? Actually, when he says that, he sounds like the Medroid in Empire Strikes Back. Take care, sir. Anyway, so I switched things up and decided that I try and put a button on the whole franchise, since Dial of Destiny refused to do that, and
impressive
because all the problems that face Indiana Jones are off screen, I think, and because in our imaginary scenarios where we have a time machine and we can do whatever we want, we don't have those problems. All we have to deal with was what has happened on screen in these movies. Mm-hmm. So, we don't need Harrison Ford to, sign up to do another one and live long enough to do that. We don't need to de-age him. We can just have a younger Harrison Ford if we want it, or decide to recast the actor as we would have done if we were in charge. So it seems to me, there's lots of problems behind the scenes that are holding this series back, but they don't need to hold us back in our pitches.
All right.
So that's why I had no problem kind of going forward instead of going back and, doing any of those
mucking about.
Those wartime adventures that, are staring you in the face, or how did we get to the beginning of Temple of Doom, which is where I was going originally, but I just didn't find it very interesting. But I actually found telling an later life Indiana Jones story, I think it can be done in an interesting way.
Well, I want to hear it. What's the title?
Oh, God, okay. So really set myself up to go first then, didn't I?
You most certainly did.
Yeah. So the title of my movie is Indiana Jones and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Oh.
And, I went back and forth. It's unwieldy. It's got that You know, that sort of 80s alternative rock, the sound to it. But I felt it was justified because of the piece of mythology I want to rip from.
Okay.
So we begin Indochina, 1934. We're at the National Museum of Antiquities.
So this is before Temple of Doom.
Before Temple of Doom, yeah.
Okay.
And Indochina, which will eventually become Vietnam, but at this point it's called Indochina. Yes, I opened those tabs too, Mike. Had a lot of tabs open for my porn didn't get a look in.
Yeah, right?
This is all fucking military history.
So behind on my porn.
Although in reality I just replaced one porn with another.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Indochina, 1934, National Museum of Antiquities in Hanoi. Mm-hmm. And a team of communist guerrillas, GUER. We're talking about sequels, right? It's not that far-fetched that they could be actual guerrillas. I have to make that distinction. So we've seen some fucking nuts movies, okay, over the past few years.
I just imagined Congo with, like, a little communist hat.
Pretty much. They're storming the museum to retrieve, which is owned and operated by the French colonial government, to retrieve their cultural artifacts. And Indy and Wuhan have infiltrated this team.
Look at you. Look what you've done.
Team of communist guerrillas with purely mercenary purposes. There's a specific artifact that they want to get their hands on, and it's the Golden Phoenix, which is an ornament from an ancient from one of the country's ancient temples. And you know, we begin thinking that, you know, this is entirely made up of Vietnamese communists, and then it's revealed that Indy and Wuhan have kind of tagged along, and then they break off for the team and they go for the Golden Phoenix. You know, they smash right through the glass and remove it, and
like Homer Simpson getting to Venus.
Exactly. I don't know. And 1934, Indiana Jones turns to Wuhan and said, you know, this belongs on the open market. We can, you know, we can get a really good price for this. At that point, the French military arrived to stop the destruction. Indy and Wuhan try to escape, so we have a great sort of trying to get out of a museum. There'll be lots of kind of mini puzzles for them to solve to try and have the idea of like Indy and Wuhan on two ends of a giant scale. I have that image in my head as one of the ways. So they're trying to get out of the museum, and they find an exit route, but it goes through the office of one of the employees who works there, and it's a resident archaeologist who's working late. And it is, of course, some call him Baloche. But he is really Belloc. And this is the first time Indy and Belloc meet.
Fantastic.
And so he sees him trying to steal the Golden Phoenix. Once they find him working late in his office, and that distraction is enough for the French soldiers to get hold of Indy and Wuhan. And Belloc, you think, obviously, you know, he's gonna shot them, but he does the opposite. He sort of said, don't arrest these two gentlemen. This is, and that's the other thing, he recognizes him. He's like, this is esteemed archaeologist Dr. Indiana Jones. He's consulting with me on an archaeological dig. So it's a little bit like Monsters University, where you see it's like, how did they become lifelong enemies? Because they're not at this point. So basically, in their act of their first meeting, Belloc saves him from being, well, probably executed by the French Indochina government. So that's how they get out of that predicament. But Belloc sort of says, you know, I can't let you take this. It belongs in a museum. He puts it back in its spot, Hard cut to the same object. It's now in the Smithsonian, 1981. We track over the object in its display case.
Wait, so is Indiana Jones going to be 90 plus years old?
Yes.
Fantastic.
It's 1981.
I hope there's tennis balls on his walker.
He made it to Reagan's America. Who'd have thunk it? So, the inscription and photograph on the display case reveal that this artifact was retrieved from Vietnam, formerly Indochina, by Sergeant Henry Mutt Williams III, or Mutt Williams Jones III, and it's found amongst his possessions before his death. Well, it was shipped over with his body, and then donated by his father, Dr. Henry Jones Jr. And then we do a reverse shot, and there he is. There's Indiana Jones at the looking at the display case, and he's going to look exactly like he did in the deleted continuity from Young Indiana Jones, which, if you've not seen it, is basically the director John Ford. So he's got the eye patch.
Eye patch.
Yeah. He's joined by a young female archaeology student who sets up beside him. And,
by young, do you mean 60?
No, I mean actually young, like student age.
Okay.
And she says it's not bad enough that they went over there and killed all their babies. They had to steal their history as well. And then Indiana turns to her and said, "He stole it from me." And she says, "Are you proud of that?" And he says, "I'm proud of him." And that's it. That's their first meeting. He walks away. And then Indiana goes straight from there to the Arlington National Cemetery to visit Mutt's war grave. But when he gets there, he sees that the same female archaeology student is also at the cemetery. She's there, and she's spying out the tomb of the unknown soldier, which is under 24-hour guard by an elite squad of Marines. That's actually true. That's the true part. And she takes the brief changing of the guard moment to run into the tomb, crowbar her way in, classic grave robber style. And Indy obviously is trying to figure out what's going on, but he sees her break in, and then seconds later he's knocked out, cold. We resume. Then we go into the laser line map, so we don't even know what's happened to him, but we know he's, that's how we know he's been kidnapped and taken on a plane.
Transported.
So he's being transported, and he's heading towards France. He's heading away from America to France. And he's sort of doing the Lindbergh in reverse. He's doing the reverse Lindbergh. And anyway, so he's transported to France, and they're stuck in the freight compartment of this plane. And Indy finds out what's been going on, and this student he finds out she's named Dakota. And he scoffs at that, saying, parents will name their kids anything these days. And she says, "What's your name?" "Henry." And then it's explained that she was on Dakota was being backed by a mysterious organization on a quest she had to substantiate myths about the Fountain of Youth, and stories that have been told by World War I soldiers that the Fountains of Youth lay in a well beneath the trenches of Flanders Field in the First World War. I made this up, but that's I made that part up.
That's fine.
But that's what we're going for. And it turns out that the people who were funding her investigation were celebrity evangelists, like a kind of Billy Graham, Pat Robertson figure. who want to revive the Age of Miracles using this Fountain of Youth to demonstrate the power of their religion. So, and he's like, well, why have they? If you're working for them, why have you kidnapped? He said, well, I didn't know I was working for them, and I was looking for the gold watch that was on the body of the unknown soldier. And it's like, well, did you get it? It's like, no, they knocked me out and they took it. And it's like, well, why are we still alive? Why are you still alive and why am I here? And it's like, well, they think we're in cahoots together because they know you're Henry. They know you're Henry Jones. They think you're my professor. And it turns out that Dakota has a map. She has a map of the where the Fountain of Youth is, and she has a map of the trenches of World War II, and she puts one on the other, and it'll take us to the place. But they still need a starting point. They don't have a starting point. They don't know where to start from. But the gold watch, the way the hands were placed, was the longitude and latitude of where they need to start. And Dakota claims that when they knocked her out, she broke the watch, and the hands aren't in the right place. But she secretly smashed it herself. She noted the location and then smashed it. So anyway, basically, she's saying, until you remunerate me, I'm not going to tell you where to start. We're going to have to go on this journey together. But her and Indy break away at some point from these evangelists, and it ends up with them. They find the Fountain of Youth beneath where the trenches used to be in Flanders Field, and it turns out that the elite Tomb of the Unknown Soldier Guard kind of act as a sort of brotherhood of the Grail.
Yeah, right.
They follow them to France, and they come to protect their treasure, and they end up at this Fountain of Youth, and the celebrity evangelist, the Pat Robinson guy, decides he wants to go into it so he can be young again, and prove that miracles are possible. And then the Marine Guards advise him, if you're not pure of soul, it will dissolve you to bones. You can only become young again if you're pure of soul. And so Pat Robinson's like, oh, I got no problems here. So he goes straight in, and immediately is kind of turned into a skeleton. And then Indiana is kind of tempted to do the same thing, and they ask, is your soul pure? And he says, and he pulls a coin out of his pocket and says, it's a coin toss. And it also, as well as making you young again, it gives you eternal youth, so you never grow old. So Dakota decides that she wants eternal youth, and she tries to go in there, and Indy stops her because he figures out at that point, looking at the Marine Guard, that all of them are these kind of monolithically young people, and that they've all been through the fountain.
Yeah, right.
And they've all come out, and so all they can do with the rest of their lives is protect a tomb, a soldier's tomb. And he says to her, I met a guy who ended up like that, and you don't want to be like that. My son could never grow old, so don't throw away your chance to do that. Basically, so she saves his life, and they let them go. They go to reseal the well of the Fountain of Youth, the Marines, and Indy, he heads up onto a mound, and he starts to feel weak. And Dakota's like, "What's so crazy?" He said, "Well, I was in Washington to see one of the top men in medicine for a second opinion because my doctor told me I'm dying, and I have only a few weeks to live, and what I've been doing the last few days has accelerated that."
Yeah.
And so he starts to sort of die in her arms, and she's like, "No, we've got to call your family. We've got to get you back home." And he's like, "I've lived out all of them. It's just me. I'm the only one left." And his hat flies off, and she goes to grab it. And he just says, "Let it go." And then he just sort of passes away in her arm, and the magical Godwin takes the hat away and puts it in the earth, which is about to be sealed up.
Oh, good.
So Indiana Jones's hat becomes a future relic. End of movie.
All right. Man, you've got everything, beginning, middle, and end.
Which, as we've said before, really shouldn't be in a pitch at all, but, you know.
Right.
I did a lot of research, and I wanted to show that I'd done it.
I like it.
Thank you.
What's it called again?
Indiana Jones. Here we go. Indiana Jones and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Yeah.
I'm loving that pitch.
Hmm.
And I am surprised you went that route.
I knew you would be, yeah.
Yeah, like shocked.
And that's the thing. I don't dislike. Like I say, I love those Rockford File reunion movies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if David Chase is writing it, it's like, sure, Rocky isn't there. That's not great, but you still got Angel. You still got Tom Selleck. You do it properly, it's great. And so I think, and also, you know, you can just stop pretending that he could be in any way an action hero when he's 90, and it just becomes a story about a guy.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about it.
That's what I like about it, because I didn't go that route at all.
Good.
Did not even
That's
consider
good.
it for a moment.
And who would? Because he's 80 at the end of Dial of Destiny. But like I say, we don't have those problems. The people making actual movies have those problems. We don't have those problems.
Well, I went the opposite route, but had kind of your idea of a front half and a second half. It's funny because Dial of Destiny informs... Or no, sorry. Crystal Skull informs my interquel between Last Crusade and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
It's the smart choice. Mike was always smarter.
I don't know about that, friend.
I'm just buffalo-headed Clemenza over here.
Well, I'm calling my movie Indiana Jones and the Scepter of Ta.
Oh! Well, thumbs up, double thumbs up for your title.
All right.
Good job, sir.
Thank you.
Is that tar with 2 R's? Or is it tar as in the substance tar?
Nope, Ta. Like P-T-A-H.
Oh, okay. So, yeah.
You hate it now.
No.
God damn it.
No, but we've had this conversation about using words that people don't readily recognize in titles, so...
Don't care.
Yeah. I know. Oh, believe me, I know.
I love how quickly that turned around.
Okay, Indiana Jones and the Scepter of Ptah.
You don't have to be that big an asshole about it. Well, we're gonna
I'm intrigued. I like the scepter bit.
We're gonna be in the early 1943.
Mm-hmm.
So we're heading towards the end of World War II.
Yeah.
But
crucially, not right at the end. After you can no longer tell wartime adventures go on.
Yes. But because of Crystal Skull, and we learn, he's a war hero.
Right.
So I wanted to, put that into my movie, and the whole front coldish open is Indiana Jones as a spy, for the CIA.
Perfect.
So I even had the idea of the Paramount logo dissolving into a mountain on a tapestry inside of a church.
Oh, excellent. That's really good.
Pulling out of a church.
That's a nice twist on Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
And also, I thought for a second there when you said, espionage, I thought you were going to have it, dissolve into a gun barrel. But then I remembered that's what I would have done.
Yes. But this is one of the reasons I think you might like part of this pitch, is because I do want to match up some genres here. Mm-hmm. You've talked extensively about setting the Indiana Jones adventure in the year and having that inform sort of the style of the movie. And so I wanted sort of a proper kind of spy movie.
Great, yeah.
An espionage movie. Mm-hmm. So we start off with Indiana Jones undercover for the CIA, and he is in Italy looking for the tablet of the tomb. So there's a little game of cat and mouse going on. You know, there's the small alleyways, and he's kind of dodging and thinks he's sort of ahead of the game and getting losing tails. I have this idea of sort of this man up on a high perch, just sort of watching Indiana Jones with binoculars and smiling the whole time, Indy not realizing that everything he's doing is for naught.
He thinks he's a cat burglar.
Yeah, exactly. And so once again, he's behind the 8 ball. And then who does he meet up with? This is my research. He meets up with one Adelaide Hawkins, who is a real CIA agent who...
Oh, excellent.
I believe started right around like 1941.
Perfect, yeah.
So they're gonna... I didn't have time to pick a church. Like, I don't know. What? Duomo of Milano?
A Christian church?
Yeah, some sort of church.
One of them Christian churches.
Yeah, one of them churches. So they
is it in Venice by chance? I mean, that would be dead on the money if this was Venice.
I thought of that. I thought of Venice. I also thought of it being close to Venice and him sort of just looking out and seeing Venice and saying, "Wish I was there." Venice.
That's when he could have seen the poster that says Venice, that would have explained why he keeps saying it as a catchphrase.
So you could go either way.
Mm-hmm.
I one of the reasons I first thought of Venice was because of what's that Donald Sutherland movie? Don't Look Now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Walking around the
sure.
that portion.
The Ramos. Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, they're going to get into the church and they're going to find the thing that lowers them down into a catacomb and into further adventures and solving traps and shit together. And they're going to find one trap that they can just bypass by kind of going around it. And at any rate, they're gonna get through all the traps and all the boobies, and they're gonna
separately or booby
together.
traps?
Together.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're gonna end up finding...
I think some of your porn tabs might have got mixed up with your historical research there, I think.
They're gonna find this Tombs tablet, and then the next thing you know, of course, the bad guys are right behind them saying, "All right, hand it over." And Indiana Jones has just put it into his bag, and so he has to hand it over. But that one thing that they didn't trip the wire on is going to be the one thing that allows them to escape. And so they escape, and then it turns out that he gave them a fake thing that he also had in his bag, and they get away.
Right.
And all of this leads to... So that's the front MacGuffin, but it is, like these other movies, these later movies, connected to the other MacGuffin, which is the Scepter of Ta. And so there's 3 parts. There's the Was Scepter, the Sign of Life, the Ankh, and then the Digid Pillar. So my idea is, what they don't know is if the Ankh is a fake, and if they find the real one and put it on, the scepter actually gives you lots of power. And my villains, sir, are going to be the Italians. Mussolini wants to get back into power.
Oh, great. That's good. That's a nice way to have Nazis without Nazis.
Nazis without Nazis. I know I gave Crystal Skull
That's a very
lot
popular
of shit for the Russians, but I am going to steal it and use it.
Nazis Without Nazis was a popular self-help book in that era.
Yes. At any rate, it's going to lead us eventually into Africa. And we're going to have to... So you can bring Salah back. And Salah can bring all the camels he wants.
Talk about how he just wants to move to New York and be a cab driver.
A cabbie.
No better way to end his life, having lived in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I just was having a conversation with friend of the show, Matthew Aldrich, today, who, because of our episodes, watched Dial of Destiny.
Yeah.
And
that's one reason to do it.
I almost want to steal his idea because I thought it was so good. He was like, I don't understand this whole thing with Salah, and he's a fucking cab driver, and what the fuck are they doing? And they just kick him to the curb, and it's like, he's got to fuck off. And he said, I've got a rewrite. Like, why don't they just make, the boyfriend that wants Phoebe Waller-Bridge, what if they catch them and they take him to the gangster and the gangster is Salah?
No notes.
That's where his life led him. How good is that? So this part where they think they're going to die and, So I almost want to...
And basically, then John Rhys Davies could basically be Sidney Greenstreet in Casablanca.
Yeah, exactly.
Swatting flies in brown face.
Such a good idea. I almost want to steal it for this pitch.
It's a phenomenal idea, and I think I remember saying when we talked about the Morocco scenes that I wanted them to lean more into the Casablanca of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they didn't, because I don't know if they've even seen Casablanca beyond the poster. They've seen Batteries Not Included. That was a different podcast.
And that's all you knew. That's all you knew, was that they'd seen Batteries Not Included. What was that for?
Included. That was the Poltergeist. That's
right.
Behind a paywall. You I've said too much. That's behind a Get on our Patreon if you want to know what the fuck we're talking about.
Well, excuse me. The game is afoot. They're in Egypt. They have to find that second or that last piece for the scepter.
Yeah.
And once they do, they can put it together. But Mussolini wants it because he thinks it'll bring him back power.
Because he's jealous of all of Hitler's.
One of my open tabs was the fact that Mussolini, I think he was. What was he? He was like rescued on top of a mountaintop from like somewhere between September 12th and the 15th, and then
That's
Hitler.
news to me.
So the history has told me. He was rescued from this mountaintop. He was in captivity, and then he was made head of Salo by Hitler, his good friend, which was like this off-branch kind of government that wasn't in charge of anything. Then Mussolini's brother was murdered to stamp down any chance. And it was shortly after that Italy actually declared war on Germany. So I kind of like this idea of
Italy
Mussolini
has declared war on the Hitler boys.
Yeah, exactly. I like the idea of Mussolini trying to go it alone, but he needs this ultimate power to do it. And so all the henchmen and all the baddies, including a Pat Roach.
That's a whole movie right there. That's fun. Yeah. That's an incredible story.
So
I don't know why Pat Roach would be involved, but
because he has to be.
What about your CGI person? Is he going to be there?
Maybe. As a baby. Pat Roach's baby. He's just...
The other thing I thought, and I'm not trying to... There'll be, there's no way to one-up CGI person, but I also thought... did you remember the Popeye cartoons?
Yeah.
Do you remember Goon?
Goon.
It was like one of one of Olive Oil's friends was like a big. It was like a big woman who was like had these.
Wow, I don't
Anyway.
remember Goon.
Looks just like Goon from
Alright.
the Popeye cartoons. Anyway.
Well, at any rate, everything that happens in an Indiana Jones movie is going to happen. They're going to get that piece, then the piece will be taken away from them. Then they have to catch up and retake the piece, and then they'll get captured. And then what I want still is within all of that is keeping the spy aspect and
Yeah.
looking out over this and through this and solving this and leaving this for somebody to find and clues and blah, 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 blah. But then we'll have sort of like a real true finishing thing. I don't know. I thought I should set like maybe underneath the pyramids, but then I thought, is that too on brand?
For this or the Mummy?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I just pictured a last scene in the catacombs in a different, everybody
Like treasure
being
buddies. Yeah.
yeah. Everybody going after the scepter to bring the power together, and of course the bad guys get it, and they don't realize exactly what that power means. I had this idea that I forgot her name, Adelaide, right?
Adelaide
What was my
Hawkins?
lady's name?
Yeah.
Adelaide Hawkins. Like, we don't think of Indiana Jones as a religious person.
In
But I kinda
spite of all evidence to the contrary, no, we don't. He doesn't think
exactly.
of himself that way.
No.
That's for sure.
But I like the idea of them, like, kind of coming together on that point, despite the fact that all that Indiana's seen, and they have God conversations, and he says, well, I don't know what I believe in, but I know I've seen some stuff. And
One year it was Shiva, then it was Yahweh,
yeah.
and just back to regular old JC.
But what if you had to, while the scepter was being sort of activated by the Italians, you had to kind of show fealty and sort of kneel down before it, and that's their version of closing your eyes, and so they don't die.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there you go.
That's really good. And apart from the admittedly coincidental overlaps with the Cocoon films, I think I completely forgot about making it feel like a movie that's from the era it's representing in my pitch. So I made the same mistake Dial of Destiny did, essentially, in my pitch.
Fantastic.
Apart from the evangelists, it's the only thing that's very 80s about it.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
there you have
that
it.
sounds like a fun night out, which is what I
Right.
want with an Indiana Jones movie.
It's all I need. A good time.
Yeah. And you'll get that with my meditation on the death of Indiana Jones.
No, I really respect that you're gonna kill him.
Well, I had to, and then
It's what we deserve.
and I think I was thinking about, like, is it too fan servicey for him to say "let it go"? But I think the franchise's attachment to the hat is the equivalent of Henry's obsession with the Grail. They need to just get beyond it. And the only way to do that is to let it go and let it be buried, and like like Belloc's pocket watch. You bury it in the
right.
ground, and then in 1,000 years, it becomes.
Is Belloc only in that front scene?
Yeah,
Okay.
and Wuhan.
Right.
Because all of it, they would be dead by 81. Both of them would be dead by 81. Both of them would be dead a few years later.
Yeah, just not very shortly.
Yeah. No, it was just a way to sort of tie up the whole Mott storyline, and
Yeah.
Marion's gone, but we don't talk about it until the final scene where he's just like, they're all gone, I'm the only one left.
Mhm.
I've outlived everyone.
Right.
Like I said, a fun night out.
There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, there you go. Our 2 pitches. You're going to have to tell us which one you like the most, or you can send us your own.
Yeah, I bet people have done that even ahead of this episode. I bet people have been working on their Indiana Jones pitches for many years.
I hope so.
Yeah. And not just in the last 20 minutes.
I'm telling you. I really had that front scene flushed out as much as I could.
Yeah.
All goes to shit after that.
No, not at all. It sounds like a movie I would want to watch.
Okay. Well, that's it. We've done our job.
That's it, yeah.
What more can you ask?
None more. None more ask.
I can finally close all the tabs.
Yeah, close the tabs on this series and this year of podcasting.
True. Another year in the books, friend.
Yeah. We're normally we'd be another 100 episodes by now, but we're at half speed, so it'll take a bit longer to get there, but we've getting
produced close.
Weekly episodes per year, and if you go over if you join our Patreon, you'll get 2 bonus episodes a month, or you can get up to 2 bonus episodes a month. And we got new YouTube content coming out in the new year.
There you go.
And next week you're gonna get a little Christmas,
a little something, little Christmas present,
treat, little little something.
Little something to wet your beak.
That's right.
Mixing up our series.
Draw the water from the well.
Well, that's it. We will be back in the new year. Until then, you're going to have to find us on Facebook, find us on Instagram, not where X does not mark the spot. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
He's getting crazier and crazier.
Yeah, I'd like to give that guy some Metamucil.
Let's bury his hat.
Indeed.
All right. You can send us an email to everythingsequel@gmail.com. He's Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. I'm Michael Shantz of the How Dare You Awards. We love you. We thank you. We will be back in the new year. Say goodbye to everybody, Tom.
Too many Nazis. Too many Nazis. Too many Nazis.
Neither one of us went Nazis. I basically went Nazis.
You came the closest of the two. Well, we both had extremists.
Sure.
We were just kind of different. We were sort of Nazis in all but none.
Nazi adjacent.
Nazi.
It's the most you can hope for in this series.
What's the bet in like 2 years?
That's why Temple of Doom is so good.
Because it's Nazi adjacent?
Because it's not.
Oh, okay. What's the bet in 2 years that there'll be like the extremist wing of the Republican Party will be content to call themselves Nazi adjacent?
I don't have a problem with it. Do you have a problem with it? Adjacent, we're saying.
We're not saying we're Nazis.
We are Nazis. Well, on that happy note.
A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you all.
Nazis. Start thinking about those resolutions now.
Don't be Nazi adjacent in the new year.
That's a message from us to you.
That'll be on our Christmas card coming in digital form to you all.
I love it.